So, hi everyone. This is Sampada Moghe, and I'm going to present Power App use cases today. This is my first time, so I'm a little nervous, at the same time very excited. So let's get started. So these are all the sponsors for the event. Let me introduce myself. I am Sampada Moghe, based out of Pune, India. I am a solution architect at TCS, Tata Consultancy Services. I have worked on various versions of SharePoint, right from 2007 beta version to 13 and now SharePoint Online. Currently working on Power Platform. My hobbies are writing, reading, and playing with my kids. I speak English, Sanskrit, Marathi, and Hindi. These are all regional languages. So today I'm going to present 3 Power App use cases. One is provisioning a site. Second is legacy system access. Third is COVID-19 track and trace. Let us start with our first use case, that is site provisioning use case. Now, this is a most common ask when it comes to SharePoint Online or Office 365. Sometimes people are confused whether to go for SharePoint team site or go for Microsoft team sites or use communication site or group sites. Even there is a confusion whether to go for a customization or just use out-of-box features, because there are numerous ways through which a site gets created into SharePoint. So the current screen, I've listed a few options through which we can create. Almost 20 plus options are there through which we can create a site into SharePoint. Like OneDrive, SharePoint admin site, a small create site button at the very left top. Similarly, through Power BI, through PowerShells, Azure, we can go ahead and create a site. So, but sometimes there are needs to capture more details when the site is getting created, or activate certain features in the site, or sometimes there is a need to add certain processes once the site gets created. For that, we need to have additional metadata. Sometimes we have to give access to the external users. So all these things leads to the customizing the site provisioning process. So there are three approaches to customize the site provisioning. The first is site design and site script. Second is PNP provisioning. Third is custom forms, which we can develop through Power Apps or SPFX. So when to go for which approach? That's a little tricky. If we have to have an approval process implemented when we are creating a site, definitely we have to go for a custom forms. But if we want all those features which we want to be associated with the site when the site gets created, at that time, we can go ahead and use site design because it applies to the default templates. And there's no additional infrastructure required to create it at the same time. If we want a site to have a specific look and feel, and we have to quickly build that site, if we have to have added list libraries, added features, sometimes some content or templates within the site, we can also go ahead and use PNP provisioning site process. Sometimes a combination is good. For example, site design and PNP combination. So what all things we can do with the help of site design are listed in this slide. So we can add site to the hub if we have to just have a list or library configured, some content types, some site columns to be configured. We can go ahead and use site design and site script, which is just a JSON which we have to append to the normal template or default template. How to go ahead and create and what all actions we can do. Some of them are listed over here, like adding a navigational link, adding specific themes, branding properties. These are some of the popular ones which I've seen. All the actions are listed in this link. in docs.microsoft.com in site design JSON schema. So you also get a schema for individual actions, and we can integrate it and create a bigger one, whatever is our requirement. We can also go ahead and use the designer through which we can create that JSON and use it in our site design and site script. But what if we don't want to use site design, but to have some approval process or activate these site collection level features? At that time, we definitely have to go ahead and use custom forms. So here in this demo, I'm going to showcase a custom form, that's Power Apps, which will capture a few more detail along with the normal details like site name, description, group alias and all. And it saves the data into SharePoint list. A flow gets triggered, due to which we have that approval process implemented. And once the manager approves the request, once that specific department manager approves the request, the flow calls webhook, which internally calls the runbook and has all the processing logic. So let me quickly switch to demo. So this is the app which I've created. I normally like PowerPoint presentations. That's why I have given the app look and feel from PowerPoint. So I've actually taken a few icons and images from PowerPoint. So let us start with our first use case. So if we have to have a complete package for the site provisioning process ready, we will have to ask user whether what is the purpose they are using the site. For example, if you have to if they have to have a real-time communication along with collaboration over the content, we can redirect user to the Microsoft Teams sites. Or if they have to have a content collaboration, or if they have to use a site for showcase window, then they can be redirected to the communication site. This way, we will be able to complete the package of site provisioning. In this demo, I'm going to showcase a team site process. I've also incorporated communication site, group sites. We can go ahead and have one more tab or module inserted in the same window as Microsoft Teams site, which can also get created along with the backend site based on certain templates. And then user can be redirected to any of the options. So let us start a demo. Here I'm selecting HR as department. Let me see whether the name is available for me to use. Oh, it's not. Let me check whether I can use this name for the site. And yes, it is available. Automatically, my group and group email address will be captured by the system. Let me quickly fill in the description. I would like to classify the site as public or private. So let me classify it as private and add additional owners. I don't have many members in my tenant as of now. And let me associate this site to the existing hub. I also want to capture the expiration of the site so that once it hits the expiration date, a mail should be triggered to the owner asking permission to delete the site. And quickly submit the data. Once the data gets submitted, the department manager, which is currently, I am the department manager for the convenient purpose, a mail will be triggered to the department manager to approve the request for a site. Okay, sometimes the flow is little slow. Let me see whether it has started. Yeah, it's running. So any second I'll get the request to approve. Okay, so we got a mail to approve the request. So let me quickly approve it. And now it's this flow, since I have approved the request, it goes and calls the webhook, which has all the processing logic written, uh, which actually does add site to the hub, add additional owners, additional members to the site. Also, it it implement the processes which are based on classification and the expiry date. So it attaches those processes to it. At the same time, it all we can also enable some features. If, for example, if I have to have a document ID level feature, document ID to be enabled on the site, at the same time the enterprise keyword should be ticked. All those features can be enabled in the runbook. So here, to call the runbook, I have used HTTP webhook function. uh, I can go ahead and use HTTP as well. But the thing is, if we want to have a callback function implemented, that is to send data from webhook to the flow back, we have to use HTTP webhook. And here I'm getting the return message from the webhook that the site is created, and that's the site address. So let us quickly open the site. Now it got associated with the existing hub. If we see the site permissions, as we have added Abhishek as a site owner, he got added into the owner as well as member group. There is one more user which got added into this group is test user. Now from where this user is coming is because I've also added site design, which is a custom site design. And what it is doing is it is setting the external sharing capability for my site. It is also creating this list requirement gathering, and also creating requirement document list and adding this test user in the owners group. Actually, site design, if we are writing all the logic into webhook, then we don't have to actually go ahead and implement it. But I just wanted to give a flavor of how site design works. If we append the custom site design to the existing template, then and what all things it can do. So let us quickly check whether list and libraries are configured. So yes, the requirement document library is there and requirement list is also created. To create a webhook and call from the flow, we just have to go to the we have to create an automation account, and I'll quickly show the webhook as well. So we have to create an automation account and create a runbook. I've created a partial runbook. There are various options available over there. And then we have to create a webhook, add a webhook to the runbook. Once you add webhook to the runbook, a URL, you get an endpoint URL which you can call in the HTTP webhook request. And if you see, here is the data which which we pass from flow to the webhook to process further. So this webhook is taking care of whether I'm creating a team site or a communication site or a group site. All the logic is written into this runbook. So that's all about the first use case of creating a site with the help of custom form. Okay, so let me switch to the PPT again. The second use case which I'm going to present is legacy system use case. Legacy system use case is like sometimes we use legacy system which are very old, whose API might be exposed or might not be exposed, or sometimes all the users don't have access to the legacy system, and if they have to work on it, or if we have to integrate our cloud application to the on-premise legacy system, then there are a lot of challenges which we have to encounter. So there was one such scenario in which we have to in which actually users doesn't have access to the legacy system, and they had to ask, they have to request for the access. And once that user requests the access, it goes through the manager approves it, and only for that time period, whatever is requested for, they get access to the legacy system. Their ID gets added to the legacy system and they can work on it. And once the expiry is hit, then user access is removed from the system. For that, to implement that process, we had actually created a Angular based forms and written certain scripts, um, as well as a scheduler to check and remove the access from the system. And it was little troublesome to write all the processes and syncing all the processes together. Some time back, I also got a request to, because most of the processing logic for say sales, for revenue, everything happens over Excel. And then the system is fed with the data from the Excel. Now, those kind of systems sometimes are there on only single laptop or a desktop. So to integrate or to automate such processes, we have to there should be an API exposed for those legacy system, which can be consumed, and then we can automate these processes. Microsoft has given answer to such solution. So Power Automate along with UI flows can automate these kind of processes in a very easy manner. UI flows basically are the premium connectors, and it has two versions. One is desktop version and one is web version. So there are certain prerequisites which is to be installed on your system, then only we can use the UI flows. The prerequisites are install UI flow installer, activate UI flow browser extensions. If you're using a web version of the UI flow, we have to install Selenium ID along with it. If we have a desktop, if you're using a desktop version, then we need to have a gateway installed. So when you're installing a gateway, if you already have a cluster, it adds the connector to the cluster, or it creates a new gateway, new connection. Um, all these steps are already available on Microsoft Docs. But even if you're not navigating over there, if we just go, if we just navigate to the flows and we select UI flow, there in the recorder step, it tells you that the prerequisites are not installed and give a link to it. So if we click on it, click on the link, it navigates us to the link from where we can download all the installation, and we can get started with it. So let me switch to the demo. I have actually installed everything on my VM. So let us start with the legacy system access use case. Let me request for Curo system access. Some description. For the demo purpose, I'll be the manager of my own request. It will be convenient to rather than switching the accounts and accepting the request. And let me request it for say 5 days. I can also attach a file to just sending it to my manager for approval and browsing purpose. And I'm submitting the request. So once the request gets submitted, a mail is triggered to the manager for approval. So actually I should approve it through Outlook, but pardon me for my habit. I normally go for testing purposes. I use directly the action items in the flow and approve the request. So yes, we got the request. Let me quickly approve it. Okay, and I'm not touching my laptop right now. So what the flow will do is flow will open up the though since I don't have a legacy system on my machine, I'm using Notepad as an example. So flow is actually opening the system here in this case Notepad, and I am giving the inputs to the flow as user email and user description and name of the file. It has done all the processing logic. It has added user name to the system, user ID to the system with the expiry, and now it is closing the system. So it will process it and then it will return the response to the main flow. So currently system has added user to the legacy system and a main flow okay, the main flow is also completed. So it must have triggered an email to the user saying that the access is being given to the user with all the details which are received from the UI flow back. So let me quickly show. This is how a UI flow gets called into the main flow. So I've already configured the UI flow, which I'm going to show. But this is how we call the UI flow, and I'm passing these parameters as an input parameter to the flow, and I am getting this as an output parameter from the UI flow back to the main flow. I can process it further, but I'm directly sending it in the email. So let me show the UI flow. So if we see the UI flow, this is the recorder which records all the steps which are happening on the machine. if you see, it actually captures the keystrokes and the um, mouse click events. There might be the possibility that we have some unnecessary steps which we can remove, and the flow will work the way it is there in this window. Now, the interesting thing which I have encountered some time back was I had configured this flow on this VM with some other laptop. And for this presentation purpose, I'm I'm using my personal laptop. So when I actually opened this flow, it was erroring out. And I was not able to understand because the flow was working and it was on the same VM, but still it was erroring out. So when I went to the UI flow, it showed me the error saying the keyboard on the machine does not match the keyboard layout in the script. That means whatever from wherever you are recording these recording the events, it is actually capturing all the keyboard clicks, the mouse clicks, and it should match the description completely. So I had to re-record it and have to play off for this particular laptop. So that was all about the third use case, the legacy system use case. If we have seen, actually it automates the process. I don't have to do a single click event. It has automatically taken place. It has automatically opened the notepad, filled in, it has taken the input, fill in all the details in the notepad, save the notepad with the name input which I have specified from the main flow to the UI flow, and save the file. So let me switch to the third use case, which I'm going to present. It's a COVID-19 specific use case. So in this pandemic situations, when users are forced to stay at home to stay healthy and safe, precautions are to be taken. And initially we were very in a panic mode, but now I think though we don't have vaccines, but still we are not into panic mode as of now. We have settled a lot, and now offices are thinking to open the office premise to the users in a phase-wise approach, and HR people wants to know exactly about the user details, about whether from where users are going to work, what they are going to use. For example, what device they are going to use to work, whether it's company provided, their personal ones. Similarly, on the location, what all buildings are functional at the same time, where what facility in the inside the building are more is more crowded or used, maybe which common area is mostly used by the people, and they can track user movements, user whereabouts, and if at all they have certain situations, COVID situations, they can take the appropriate precautions. But this particular use case I have explained here is with respect to the COVID-19 scenario. And that's why actually I named this scenario as COVID-19 track and trace. But the solution which we are going to see is not only COVID-19 specific. We can utilize this solution into manufacturing industry or into the oil and gas industry as well. So into manufacturing industry, for example, all the parts are not assembled into one factory. So the parts are to be moved from one factory to the other, and it gets assembled further. So when the part is going out of the factory premise, a barcode is read, which scans all the detail and enters into a system along with few more details like driver details, the vendor details, the owner who is going to receive the package. So all these details are captured, and this solution can be further integrated with DocuSign or EcoSign kind of digital signature systems, so that we can capture the digital signatures back into the system, and that process could be automated. Same time, it is also applicable to the first line workers. So the first line workers who are actually working on the location uh, fills the batch statistics or the data, maybe the end of shift or end of all the shifts, and then that data gets filled into the back office and the reports are generated. So if the mobile phones, or if the automation is to be applied through the mobile phones, then we can use this solution, and the badge detail could be scanned and directly filled into the system, and will be available to use at the back office, and reports can be generated on top of it. So these are the some of the scenarios which can be handled through the solutions with few enhancements. So let us switch to the demo. So for that, since this is a mobile application, let me open, let me cast my mobile. So give me a minute. Okay. So let me open the COVID-19 trace use case. Now this is, though it's a mobile version, I like the landscape view. So we are looking at the landscape view. Um, Let me open the QR code which I'm going to scan. Okay. So basically what is happening is I have added one screen with the QR code scanner, and the scanner scans the QR code. This QR code could be, um, we can stick this QR code at the entrance of the building or at the exit of the building for every location within the building as well. So for example, users entering into the building, then user can fill user can just scan the QR code, and all the data will be filled into the intermediate screen with the data which we have to capture, like username, email, department manager, department, which department the user belongs to, and the actual location which we have to capture, like location, floor details, common area, date, and in and out time. So that can be captured, and we can simply give privilege to the user to check the data and save the data. Here, actually, since my browser locale is in ENUS, it is actually showing the ENUS details. But we can also give privilege to the user to check the data in his own language. So for that, I have actually used Spanish and French as an option to showcase over here for a demo purpose. So all the details will get converted into the Spanish or French. I don't understand these languages, so let me switch back to English so that I can save the data back. And the data gets saved into the SharePoint list. Once the data gets saved into the SharePoint list, we can actually go ahead and create the dashboard on top of the data. So the dashboard, here the dashboard is created with the help of sample data, which is showcasing that these are the 4 locations in which I have the office functional currently. So functioning currently, and what is the strength in each location. If I have to quickly check, for example, Perth, if I have to check how many buildings are there and which floor is utilized, what is the strength on each floor, then we can actually go ahead and check it. Like here we have M1, M2 building, and M1 building first floor is having 11 people, second floor is having 4. Similarly, what all common areas are used and which is heavily used. So if you see here, we have for first floor we have C1, C2 and C3. So C2 is having 12 as a count, 12 user count, whereas C1 is only 1. So C2 is the one which is heavily used. Similarly, if I have to see a few more details, I can quickly switch to the report, which gives you a few more details as in how many users were there for this particular unit. If I have to search on specific dates, I can go ahead and search it. If I have to search specific location or specific units, I can go ahead and search. For example, if I have to search on, say, I have to search on a user. So if I just select a user, so Sampada belongs to location Perth, and she works on she works in M1 building, and she on this day she has actually gone through F1, F2, F3 floor. So this way HR can track all the details and capture all the details into the system in an easy manner. So I am actually capturing all these details into a scan database, which is a SharePoint list. We can also capture all these details into SQL table, and we can process it further. It depends like what granular level data we have to capture. So currently I am capturing all the in-out details, but focusing only on the day-wise detail which is entered into a system. So that this way I've captured all the details, but we can also go ahead and capture all the details into SQL table and maintain it for 14 days uh, since coronavirus effects are seen after 14 days, so that if we get a COVID-19 patient who all he had met within these 14 days and from where he works actually, which area he has used, maybe all these things can be captured and proper actions or precautions can be taken. So let me again switch to the presentation. So that was all about the third use case which I had to present, that's COVID-19. But the solution, as I said, can be extended to the other scenarios as well. So that's all about I have, and this is the feedback. Please give us the feedback so that it will help to improve if we just have to earn prizes, then please log in and give the correct answers to it. Please donate for the cause to the relief fund. So thank you. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. That's my Twitter handle and Gmail contact. So you can mail me all your questions or all your questions maybe on this email address, and I'll be happy to answer. So if you have any questions, please let us know. So if there are no questions, then so I can be reached on this address, Gmail address, as well as on LinkedIn with the same name, Sampada.